It's the Macho Man, and welcome to the Backlog Bastards. I had to do it. How is everybody doing tonight? It is episode 78, gamers, of the Backlog Bastards. I'm your host this evening, one with the stars and galaxies, the Moon Man himself, my partner in crime, Resident Gamer Zero, aka Ryan. This evening, gamers, of course, as usual, we be our unapologetic, unfiltered selves, keep it a buck and share our thoughts tonight on a number of topics, including previewing the Xbox Game Showcase, which also came out with some rumoured first-party release dates. We talk more on the Switch 2 as more news continues to trickle out. We've got some Starfield update news as well, and much, much more. So hope everybody's got their beverages and snacks. Buckle up and let's get this party started the Bastards way. And hey, watch this. I'll show you all the trick. Watch this. Boom! Look at that. The Moon Man's on the screen. Woo! So trying something different. New intro. I've got my camera here working. So good. I don't know why I look so. I'm the red man. I'm about to turn into Hellboy. But I appreciate everyone stopping by. I see the rockin' one rocking out with us. The legendary one himself, of course, Mr. Peace Love Live. Always great to see you in here, brother. And of course, all the lurkers. We appreciate all the love and support. Don't forget to hit that like button. Share this out. It is always a great, great help, of course. But without further ado, Ryan, my friend, how are you been, brother, and what you've been playing lately, sir?
I have been great, my friend. I have been still plowing my way through Lost Judgment. Such a great game. If you like murder, mystery, detective stories, and you like the Yakuza series, this is a perfect blend of that. It's very dialogue heavy, so if you're not into dialogue heavy type of games, it might not be for you, but the combat alone is like enough to warrant trying the game. I love that it's kung fu oriented. The detective in the story knows martial arts. You get to pick between 3 different styles: crane, tiger, and snake, each one having their own individual color and abilities and moves, and you basically update the different styles as you play through the game. It's a lot of fun. I'm at the second to last chapter, so I'm about to finish it. And then I'm also been just kind of dabbling in a lot of little stuff, bro. I went back and I picked up Contra on the 360. It was nice. So it's not the NES version. It's like the arcade version. And I played through that and I didn't beat the game, but I unlocked a few achievements on. I need to still go back and try to beat it again. I died on the last level on the final boss. I know, bro. I was so frustrated because I was so close. But I've been focusing mainly on Judgment and a little bit of Aiden Chronicles still. That's another really long game, so I'm trying to hurry up and finish Judgment so I could focus on 100 Heroes. Right. Those two are the ones I've mainly been jamming. I've been playing on some smaller retro titles like Pac-Man and Contra. So I've been gaming quite a bit, brother. What about you?
Nice. Yeah, I've been dabbling in a few things. So went back into Banishers. I'm getting close to finishing that, which has been a fantastic game, of course. Played some more and completed the Tales of Kanzara, which, man, that took you on one of the most emotional journeys that I've been on in a long, long time in the game. So hats off to that team. I mentioned him last week. The guy behind it is a really good actor. Of course, he played Father, for those that don't know, in the show Raised by Wolves. And this was his first game with his studio. Fantastic. And built with love and passion. Can't wait for their second game. And I've also been getting into, even though I had to roll back the update, because I got a massive pack that Steel, shout out to the brother Steel Rain, suggested to me for Fallout 4, and so I've been enjoying that. I played it originally back on the Xbox One, but with this collection mod, it really changes a lot of things, adds a lot of new story, adds some characters, and really fills out the game. So I've been enjoying that, man, playing through that. Being a vault dweller, coming out to a world that's been utterly laid to rest and destroyed, I guess you could say. And then, other than that, I picked up this cool thing, man. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I'm unwrapping it on the podcast here today, and it lights up. I haven't got it to light up yet because I'm wrapping it, so I haven't put the batteries in. It looks pretty cool, man. So apparently the egg part here, if everyone can see. How cool is that? What do you think of this, Yobi? Cool dragon. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, this egg part down here, this crystal, that's supposed to light up green. Put in the batteries down there. But I love dragons, bro. One of my favorite things. Seen this and I had to have it. Yeah, it looks really cool with the way that they've but I love it, man. I think it's cool. And then you got the tree roots and the tree that's wrapping around there, wrapping around the bottom here. So I can't wait to put the batteries in it and get it to light up. But I thought, yeah, you know what, that looks pretty sick. So add that to my dragon collection. Who doesn't like dragons, man? Who doesn't like dragons? Dungeons and Dragons. But no, without further ado, let's get into some of the news that's doing the rounds. We've got a couple of TV movie sort of news to get into first. So, don't know if anybody's heard, and I know Trin herself is going to love this, especially if one of the originals is going to be part of it. Netflix is working on a new live-action Scooby-Doo show. Matthew Lillard immediately starts trending. Yeah, because we all know how great he actually portrayed Shaggy in the original live-action movies. I'm pretty sure he ended up going on to voice Shaggy in the cartoons as well, if I'm not mistaken. But a live-action Scooby-Doo TV show, so not movie, is reportedly in development for Netflix, among other things, which immediately, of course, caused actor Matthew Lillard to begin trending on social media. And there was fans that turned around and said, if they're really going to do this, they got to have Matthew Lillard be the culprit being exposed at the end, especially after what happened to him in certain other movies as well. So it'll be interesting. Variety was the one who reported on it, which they had heard from Netflix themselves that they're in the discussion stages of getting a Scooby-Doo live-action TV series off the ground. It'll probably be a 1 hour drama each episode that's based, of course, on the Hanna-Barbera cartoon of the same name. There are a few other details, including who will take on the roles of Scooby Gang. Social media users certainly have ideas. So the favor for Lillard is driven by his now iconic performance as Shaggy in the live-action film released in 2002. Now, while the movie back then was mostly panned by critics, the critics did point out that Lillard was uncannily spot on as Shaggy. I mean, he was probably one of the best performances of the movie back then. Again, if I was right, he's gone on to voice Shaggy in numerous animated projects as well as the Multiverses game. So whether or not he's going to be involved with the new Scooby-Doo project, which is going to be penned by Josh Applebaum, who served as an executive producer on the live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, and Scott Rosenberg, who wrote 2018's Venom, among other projects. So the project's said to be nearing deal, though plot details, of course, remain elusive. And this is... I'm glad they're going to finally do it again, because it's been a minute since we have a live action. And look elsewhere. Warner Brothers recently released Velma season 2, which I love the first season. There was a lot of people that didn't like it. Not obviously going to be for everyone. There was a little bit of a different take, obviously, on the character and the way they did it. They sort of did it in the same vein as Kaylee Cuoco's adult version of Harley Quinn. So that's why I thought it was really, really good. But it's again, even season 2 for Velma is receiving mixed reviews. So whether or not it gets renewed for a third season, that's another thing. I was shocked that after the mixed reviews, and I'd say even though I liked the first season of it, there was more negative reviews. I was actually surprised to see that they brought out a second season. I was glad they pushed through because I was like, you know what, first seasons of things can be sort of hit and miss, and sometimes it does, you know, the story and people don't really start getting into it and everything until the second season really kicks up. So I was glad it got another chance. Hopefully by the end of people reviewing and that maybe it's leaning more positive. But hey, I'm all up for a live action Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo. What's your thoughts on this, brother?
I would love Matthew Lillard to return, but I hate to say it, but as we know, he's too old now. I I dread to say even play a cameo role. Maybe he could. Maybe he could be the villain.
Yeah.
You know, like a dark, like old Shaggy from the future, or like multiverse Shaggy. That'd be kind of cool. Like they go like that route with Scooby
Yeah.
Doo. I
Yeah.
think they should. That would be an interesting take.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I would like to see is something out of left field, right? Because they've kind of tackled all the different types of supernatural monsters and whatnot during the cartoons, right? So do something new, something fresh.
Yeah.
I think they really have to nail the casting, like you said, not just
Yeah.
Shaggy, but like the others as well, because that's what's always been a problem with the live action ones is like getting the casting right. The only
Yeah.
thing they got right was Lillard, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought what's her name did pretty good as Thelma. But anyway, I I'm excited by this. I've always been a huge fan of Scooby Doo. I used to like watch them religiously, the movies all the time when I was a kid. Scooby Doo and the Boo Brothers. Shout out to that one. That's my favorite. But I would really love them to do that, like a live version Boo Brothers, like that story. Like I really like the Beauregard family and like that whole like haunted hidden treasure. I don't know if you remember that one, but like that was my favorite.
Yeah. That's a good
I'm excited for this. I just hope they do it justice and they don't ruin it like Netflix tends to do sometimes with a lot of their live action stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with like how what turned out with Death Note and whatnot.
Well,
so
I was going to say it's interesting that you bring that up too, because out of these two guys that are mentioned, that the guy penning it and the other guy, I guess he might be directing it. The director, I haven't really got an issue with the guy Scott Rosenberg, who wrote 2018's Venom, among other projects. He's actually not too bad. The one I've got a little bit of concern about is Josh Applebaum, who served as executive producer on the live-action Cowboy Bebop, because the live-action Cowboy Bebop wasn't great.
The producer's like one of the most important roles on the show too, right?
Yeah. So, look, maybe that was just not the project for him, that particular guy, but I do worry because Cowboy Bebop live action was a flop. But then, as I said, then you've got the counterbalance with Scott Rosenberg, who actually does have a good track record behind him. So maybe Rosenberg equals it, out, balances it out here.
You could balance them out, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I got question marks about it, and as I always say, it's not just the actors for the roles that you got to get right. the writing has
The
to be
writing
good too.
too.
Yeah, because
Yep.
you could have fantastic actors, and I've seen movies with phenomenal cast, but the writing's that bad that the cast can't even save it. So it'll be interesting. I agree with you too. Look, I want Matthew Lillard to show up in it in some way, shape, or form. Um, Heck, even if he plays the dad of one of the gang, if they're going to make the gang younger, like I don't know,
Pass the baton. I would like that
yeah,
too, like the Ghostbusters approach,
yeah,
right?
like say that they get like actors and actresses that are supposed to be playing like late teenage versions or early 20s versions of the gang, right? So he could be the dad of one of them. Or like you said, he could be the villain. I mean, he played the villain brilliantly in Five Nights at Freddy's. Uh, so, I just like to see him included because, as I said, for me personally, even when you look back now on those Scooby Doo live actions with him and Freddie Prinze and Sarah Michelle Gellar, he really was the best part of it. I do have to agree with the critics. Like those movies, you look back now and they're a bit cheesy and stuff like that. But he was fantastic. Like he,
I just had a thought. Well, let me propose this to
yeah,
you.
yeah.
What if they took the Scooby Doo show? What if they took the supernatural approach, like that kind of?
Mm,
I would love that,
yeah,
like Scooby Doo supernatural version,
yeah,
like because they already did a crossover. I mean, like
yeah, yeah,
it would be
yeah.
the perfect kind of approach to that series. Just make it a
Yes,
dark Scooby Doo.
yeah,
Holy crap! Sign
yeah,
me up, bro.
yeah. It'd be a different take, and I think it'd actually be a take that would work. And I think give it a fresh, coat of paint because you still got the cartoon series that keeps the same sort of agenda in the way that they do that. And you can keep that more comically. But that would actually be pretty cool. So look, we'll have to wait till we hear more. We'll have to see what they end up doing with it, and it'll be interesting to see who gets cast in what roles. So hoping for the best, because yeah, you certainly don't want to see such a long running um, series, get done wrong. So we'll have to wait and see. But more on the TV movie side of things before we get into games. So, upcoming new Sony Spider Man Universe movies, 2024 Marvel spin off release dates and beyond. So, Spider Man and his amazing friends are keeping very busy. So, Spider Man, of course, is one of the few Marvel heroes with a supporting cast and rogues gallery wide enough to support an entire cinematic universe on its own. And that's exactly what Sony has been trying to launch. Even as Tom Holland fans await word on whether the actor will play Spidey again or not, Sony continues to release films in its Spider-Man universe. Madam Web and Morbius came and went and will never be forgotten. Aaron Taylor Johnson is starring in the upcoming Craven movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is getting another sequel from after Across the Spider-Verse. And the live action series Silk, Spider Society, and Spider Man Noir series are all in the works too. So, to help make sense of many Spider Man adjacent movies in the works, we're breaking down every Spider Man Marvel movie that's either been officially announced or is rumored to be in development. So, we've got quick bulletproof list here that I managed to find. Venom: The Last Dance, aka Venom 3, which is supposed to hit on my birthday this year, October 25th. Then we've got Craven the Hunter, scheduled to come out December 13th of this year. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, it's in production, no date set just yet. We've got another Tom Holland Spider-Man sequels in development, so not just one, apparently there's multiple, with him still as Spider-Man. A possible Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, possibly Spider-Man 4, as they might be referring to it at the moment. Then you've got also, as I mentioned, the Silk Spider Society series that's in development as well, which is live action, as well as the other live action series, Spider-Man Noir, which I I can't wait for that particular series. That's one where, it's set back of the day, and he's got the Dick Tracy type,
Yeah, Nick
hat on.
Cage is going to be reprising the role too.
Yeah, and the trench coat and stuff. So that's going to be awesome. El Muerto, that's in development as well. And then an untitled female cast into the Spider-Verse spin-off. But not a lot's known at all how far into production that is. So there's a lot there to unpack. They're bringing out animation movies and TV series. They're bringing out spin-offs with live action with Venom and Kraven. We're introducing Kraven now. You got more Tom Holland on the way in Spider-Man. The Silk Spider Society could be interesting too. So Silk obviously is a heroine who was bitten by the same radioactive spider that gave Peter Parker his powers. Resurfacing after a decade spent locked in an underground bunker, Cindy Moon has followed the example of Spider-Man become a costume superhero. Cindy has actually made small appearances in Spider-Man Homecoming and Avengers Infinity War, played by Tiffany Espenson, but we assume the role will be recast for any new Silk project. And it was originally announced as a movie, but has since evolved into a series that will air on MGM Plus and Prime Video, the first in a new partnership between Sony, MGM, and Prime. Into the Spider-Verse's Angela Kang will serve as showrunner, and the series will follow Cindy's origin story as she escapes imprisonment, comes to terms with her powers, and seeks out her missing family. And then you've got again with Spider-Man Noir. Again, it's going to be on Prime Video. It'll be set in the Depression era, which will be the Depression era of the Marvel Universe. Though Peter Parker himself reportedly won't be obviously the main character because when it's set. It's being developed by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse producers Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and 22 Jump Street writer Orion Uziel, who will write and executive produce. Stephen Lightfoot, who is behind Netflix Punisher, was hired in December as co-showrunner and executive producer. So it's got some names there behind that series. So that should turn out really, really good. Now, El Muerto, which is a Spider-Man spin-off movie, it's supposed to be starring musician, producer, actor, and wrestler Bad Bunny as the title character. Obviously, for those unfamiliar, he's a wrestler with superpowers whose mask and abilities are passed down from generation to generation. And apparently it's filming, or it had been filming and then it stopped filming. But Bad Bunny's publicist said recently it's at a standstill at the moment. But did clarify it's still going ahead and still will be in development. So when that actually comes out is another thing. I'm not probably going to expect that probably until 2026, I would say, at the earliest. So it'll be interesting. Now, there's some unrealized projects too. So there's been a host of rumored or reported Spider-Man spin-off movies over the years that have never actually gotten made, as we know. Along with Venom, one of the earliest Spider-Man spin-off movies Sony pursued was Silver and Black, which was a team-up film featuring mercenary Silver Sable and Master Thief / occasional Spider-Man love interest Black Cat. Now, while Sony went as far as hiring director Gina Prince Bythewood, who was behind The Secret Life of Bees, and dating the film for a February 2019 release, it was eventually cancelled. Now, last we heard, the studio was reworking Silver and Black into solo movies for the characters, though it's unclear if there's any movement yet on these projects at this point. In 2020, reports indicated that Black Cat and Silver Sable might become TV projects for Sony instead. So at the moment, I'd say that they're still in the process of deciding what they want to do there. I wouldn't say that they're completely dead just yet. I would love to see whether it be solo movies or TV series with Black Cat and Silver Sable, because both are strong female characters are part of that universe. So it'd be cool to see something different as well. And it will be interesting to see if they come to light. So Spike Lee is apparently in talks to direct a Night Watch film. The vigilante hero wears a durable nanotechnology costume that enhances his strength by stimulating his adrenal glands, but apparently is not capable of getting him out of development hell because they're having issues there. So again, another one, whether or not it sees the light of day. But they clearly have a plan. And I mean, I think you've also got Olivia Wilde, I believe, is directing a Spider-Woman movie. So that could be interesting too. So there's a lot of that are obviously set in stone, some without date, but then there's a lot that is being discussed, being talked about. Some are in development hell, some are just rumors. But what's your thoughts, brother, on some of these movies and spin-offs and rumored projects that could be, you know, expand on the whole Spider-Man universe? Because in reality, they're not wrong in the sense that there is so much depth there with Spider-Man, the characters involved in that universe, and multiple universes, as we know, with Spider-Man 2099, etc., etc. It really is its own world.
I am cautiously excited because of, Sony. They've been kind of missing a lot lately. They've been kind of hit and miss. Like Madame Web was a miss. Morbius was a miss. So they've not been hitting the mark lately. I mean, Spider-Man's really been the only property that they've been able to be successful with on a constant basis. So I really hope that Kraven the Hunter is the full. Venom 2. I do like Venom, even though it did get a lot of criticism in different ways. I am enjoying the Venom series. I think they're doing okay with that too. But I really think they should hopefully turn it around here with Kraven the Hunter, because I am interested in these characters, whether or not the general audience cares about Spider-Man's villains that much to dive into that whole universe. I'm not as sure, honestly. I don't know if the appeal is quite there. I mean, we saw it with Madame Web and Morbius. They're like side characters, and not a lot of people went and saw them, even though they weren't that good. I mean, there obviously wasn't that big of appeal either, I feel, for the characters in general. That's why a lot of people didn't go, in my opinion. I know Spider-Man is just a much more interesting character, in my view, than some of the villains, but I still want to see them, because like we do see Spider-Man a lot, and we do see a lot of the main heroes a lot. So it is sometimes good to see the flip side of the coin. But I hope it does well, because if Kraven bombs as well, I seriously doubt they're going to continue on with a lot of the other projects. They probably might cancel the rest or shelve them. So I really think Kraven is going to be more important than we think for Sony in more ways than one. But I am excited for this. I hope it does do well. And I also want to say that I'm also cautiously nervous about the Zelda movie as well, because Sony's involved. But I do know that Nintendo has a lot of hands in that cookie jar as well. So I'm not as concerned with them. But yes, I hope it does well. I'm going to see it, of course, because I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I love Kick-Ass. He always does a pretty good job in a lot of his roles. So he's a good actor. And I think I was reprehensible at first. Was Kraven? I was like, but he doesn't fit like the personality, and he's not like, because Kraven's kind of like African, right? He's kind of more of like a dark skin. He's kind of like I don't know. Well, he's not Hispanic, right? I thought he might have been Hispanic, but he's not. He's just a different ethnicity, right? In the comics, so. I wasn't as keen on the idea, but maybe Sony saw something I don't, so I'm going to give him a chance and hopefully see that he does well. I mean, the trailer, it seemed like it wasn't too bad. I mean, it wasn't too impressing, but it wasn't like Morbius level, you know. But
Right,
no,
right.
I'm praying that Sony's going to turn this around because I do want to see more spin-offs, and I have a feeling that Miles Morales might also be contingent on this as well. But that also might not be true because like Miles Morales is Spider-Man, so they might still do Miles. But I'm betting that
Okay,
this movie.
so just to correct you, so it may work because Craven the Hunter is Russian.
Oh, Russian. Okay, I'm sorry. See, I
Yeah,
wasn't 100% sure. That's why I
yeah,
was.
because his actual name, so he obviously Craven the Hunter, but his actual name is Sergei Kravenov.
All right, so that makes more. Okay, so that
Yeah,
fits perfectly then. That dispels what I said. So forget what I said. Like I said, I didn't read too much comics regarding Craven, but
yeah,
um, yeah, it makes sense now.
yeah, and he's the half brother of Chameleon as well. So, um, but yeah, he's a Russian big game hunter. So hunts people for. So it's. I think they've got a good actor here for Craven because Aaron Taylor Johnson is freaking amazing. I just watched him. He was funny as hell too in Ryan Gosling's The Fall Guy. Um, he was he was hella funny in that. Uh, he's got really good acting chops. Like yourself, like I remember him all the way back to what was the movie? Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging in 2008, where he was like the love interest for one of the girls, and then he went on from that to Kick Ass, and he was also in Savages. He was in the 2014 Godzilla movie. He's been in Tenet. He has been Bullet Train. So he's been in a number of projects, and as we
I
know,
really liked him in Bullet Train too.
yeah, he was really good. He was really good as a supporting role in Tenet as well. Um, and I'm pretty sure now it's more or less confirmed. I think he just had to really put pen to paper that he's going to be the new James Bond as well. So, fantastic actor, but of course, it's all going to come down to the writing. So hopefully, it's got a good writer behind him, and yeah, it could, like you said, I think a lot. I would say the only exceptions that don't hinge on if that's a flop or not is Tom Hardy's last Venom movie is going to come out regardless because it's too far in production. So that's an exception. And the other exception is the Into the Spider-Verse movies because they're animation and they actually do really well. So I think they will be exceptions. But all those other projects, including the Noir TV series and the like, and the Silk TV series, they could all hinge on the performance of Craven the Hunter. Uh, I wasn't that harsh on Madam Web in that. I actually didn't mind Madam Web or Morbius myself. Um, no, I didn't. I wouldn't go as far as saying they're amazing by any means. I also didn't think they were as bad as what a lot of people had you believe because I seen the reviews before I seen them, and I said, you know what, f the reviews. I'm going to go and make my own opinion, and I went and saw Madam Web, and I took it for what it is because it was the backstory as to how she became Madam Web, and so I knew that it wasn't going to be. I think what most people's problem was there wasn't enough action. Only action really was at the end. I knew going in that because it was an origin story, especially for her character, there wasn't going to be a lot of action when it pertained to that movie, and I was right. So I went in with the right mindset. That's probably why I didn't get disappointed. Now with Morbius, I thought the writing was horrible, but Just like with what we were just talking about earlier, with the writing of the original Scooby Doo live actions being not that great and very cheesy, Matthew Lillard's performance stood out. I thought Jared Leto epitomized Morbius. He looked the part. He did the best he could with the lines he had. But if they ever do another Morbius, I still want him to be Morbius. You just need better writing and producer and stuff behind him. So, whilst the movie wasn't that great, I did like the action scenes with him, but I did like his performance. You know, you can have really crappy movies and TV series, but a good 9 times out of 10, you will find something good about it, and usually it's someone's performance in said crappy movie, right? And Jared Leto, I think, portrayed Morbius better than he portrayed the Joker. I hated his Joker. I know that, again, the writing for that wasn't on him too, so there was bad writing there. But I didn't like his version of the Joker. To me, that's not the Joker. I didn't like it, and I didn't feel that he fit the role. Morbius, though, I did think he fit the role. And I thought he portrayed it really well. So whether he's probably not likely to get another solo movie, but I would love if they're going to have him as a a secondary character in another Spider-Man.
Does that make you worry about Tron Ares too? Because the fact that Jared, Jeff Bridges is returning. I don't know if you heard.
Look, Jared Leto is. We all know that he's a great musician, right? Jared Leto, I do feel, is a good actor, right?
He's not what he used to be, is what I would say.
No, but I mean,
I remember the Requiem for a Dream days when he was phenomenal.
Yeah, like
But now it seems like.
Yeah, he is. I would say he's a great actor. I wouldn't put him up in the upper echelon. It all depends on the role he takes. I remember him when he was playing John Lennon's psychotic fan killer. Man, did he play the hell out of that role. I know he was only a sort of secondary character in the movie, but he was amazing in Fight Club, right, where he had the bleach blonde hair and stuff. He's had some good roles, but then he's also had roles that he doesn't fit, or the writing's been bad, and therefore the acting hasn't been up to par. So when you pair him with decent writers, and when you put him in the right role that he fits, it's all good. When all that doesn't line up, though, then I don't like. I feel that sometimes he might not give it his all. And that could be understandable. I've seen plenty of actors put in those situations, and you can tell they're not giving their all because they're not comfortable, or they're not liking the writing, or And so, and some of the best actors in the world have had some flop movies too. So he's a good actor, but you have to put him in the right role. And as I said, Morbius was, I think, perfect for him. Joker was not. That's just an example I'm using. I'm giving him a chance in this Tron movie. I could be wrong on this, but I said to Trin, I feel that he's going to be the villain in this movie. Because he does play villains quite well. I have a feeling he's going to be the villain. Jeff Bridges is in it, which is good to pay homage to the original. That's a good thing. But I don't know. Because it's sci-fi, I think it fits kind of a genre that he fits into. Like he is. I see him fitting into sci-fi, but I need to see the performance before I go judging it. So there is still question marks.
I hope Jeff Bridges' evil double comes back, and I hope it's one of those scenarios where they find a back door to open up the game again. Where they are able to kind of start up again and suck the creator back in, or they come out of the box. That would be cool.
Yeah. No doubt, man. So I'm eagerly anticipating that because I like the Tron movies, and I'm glad Jeff Bridges is still at least going to be part of it. I know they're making him look younger in there with the CGI tricks and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a good guy or a villain, but I just have a gut feeling that Jared Leto is going to be a villain in this. I just get a gut feeling like
He
he's.
actually said he didn't like the way his CG looked, Jeff Bridges.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't too keen on it. But moving right along, so we've got a bit of Starfield news. So first off, and I think this is a long time coming, at least one of the features, Starfield's biggest update yet is bringing major new features to Xbox. I believe it's this month. So this comes from Pure Xbox. So we're going to have more detailed surface maps. These improved maps replace surface dots with terrain markings, which combined with actually seeing the points of interest on the map makes it much easier to see where you are and what's around you. Additionally, new markers have been added in the major cities to show the locations of vendors, and each of these markers act as a fast travel point, so you'll be able to head straight there quickly and easily from your scanner or the surface map. There's going to be new ways to customize gameplay. So the new update also introduced a host of new gameplay options, including the ability to increase vendor credits and carry capacity or access your ship cargo from anywhere through your player inventory. You can also play around with some survival features like the effects of food and your environmental hazards. Of course, there are also some new combat settings, so you could make space combat harder and run and gun combat easier if you want to. And if you're looking for a bigger challenge, there's now a new extreme difficulty above very hard. Significantly improved ship interior decoration. So the system is now very similar to how you decorate your outposts with this update. The update also includes new completely empty hab modules, allowing you to start your decorating from scratch. This also lets you play around with your ship's layout with more openings available for doorways. This big feature I know console gamers have been chomping at the bit for. It probably should have been there from the start, but Xbox Series 60 FPS mode and other visual options. You will now be able to choose between 30, 40, 60 or uncapped frame rate on VRR settings and displays. If you do not have a VRR display running 120 Hz, you will still be able to select from 30 or 60. Screen tearing may occur at times when selecting 60 on non-VR displays. So there is that caveat. Respec your traits for New Game Plus. So now after you enter the Unity, you'll have the option to change both your appearance and your traits. It's another way for you to choose who you want to be in the universe. And then, of course, a ton of quality life improvements. So in addition to the major features also coming in this update, there's also a ton of quality of life improvements like the ability to toggle the dialogue camera off. Now you'll be able to watch scenes play out from your chosen perspective. There are also new tabs in your container and barter menus, making it easier to see where you're navigating to when quickly cycling through the menus. So I believe the update hits on May 15th. Obviously jammed and packed with new features, man, it should definitely help. I think the 60 FPS is going to be a huge welcome as much as a lot of the other things. And then before I come across to you, Ryan, on this, also Starfield's Shared Space Expansion Story DLC will launch on Xbox this fall. I believe it's coming about September.
Yeah. Yeah, Todd Howard said, or somebody reported September.
So, yeah, it's going to expand the story, which I think's cool. And coming in after this update, I think it's just going to revitalize the game and bring people back in that may have already completed it a couple of times. But what's your thoughts on the expansion on its way, but also all these updates coming, especially that 60 FPS mode for console finally?
Woohoo, man! This
About
is
time.
see this is it is about time. I'm kind of torn because they had Bethesda, they had a long time to develop this game. They had a long time
Yeah.
to get the 60 FPS mode working. So I'm not sure why it took them so long, but this is going to bring a lot of people back to the game, even people who haven't been regularly playing, because like that's a huge deal for a lot of people. I think a lot of people might they'll still have a kind of a slightly negative opinion, but I think it'll start to change their negative attitude around. I think people will start to come around more, and like what people don't realize, that's why like I don't know why they criticize Bethesda games, because unlike a lot of other studios, Bethesda actually continuously updates and works on their games far beyond the game's release. Like they put so much care into their games. Every last detail, all the feedback they get, they actually do try to improve and make the game what they want gamers to want to experience, right?
Right.
And that shows right now with all of the work that they've been putting towards it, and they're still not done. They're not even close. And there's even talks now. Someone reported on Twitter that they're going to be adding a dune buggy to the
Nice.
game at some point soon as well, which a lot of people were asking for vehicles. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a great thing for the game. Like I said, this is gonna just boost the game even more, and this game is gonna turn into a similar cyberpunk situation in some little ways. And I mean in terms of like bringing it like some of the notoriety back, like turning the negative kind of spin on it back to more of a positive one, because a lot of those cons that people had at launch are slowly getting dwindled out, right? Or slowly getting fixed or added, right? So it's just like the Halo, right? With Halo Infinite. I think the
Right.
reality that we need to accept is we're not ever going to get completely finished games that we want anymore. I just don't think it's possible anymore. Yes, Nintendo can do it in a sense, but I'm talking about so excluding Nintendo, even though they're still in the same industry. As far as Sony and Microsoft, the way that they have it seems to be a formula, right? Because a lot of developers and studios are doing it right now, right? It seems to be an accepted way of releasing games now, right? Of to releasing them not
Right.
completely polished, not completely fully done, or missing a lot of content, and then they just plan to fill it out within a year or two or more, or add more or expand upon it. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
just think that even though we shouldn't accept it in a way, I just think that it's just not inevitability. I have the wrong. I'm struggling for the word here, but what I'm trying to say is this is going to be a normal cadence from now on in terms of how some games are released, especially like I feel Starfield could almost be a live service game in a way, in the fact of its sustainability and the amount of content that they add to the game, right? It's almost like in terms of like a live service game, and in terms of like what they do with the game. So I think this is all around great for Starfield. Bethesda's already been doing well with this game. I think this will bring more sales because some people were holding off on it because it was only 30 frames. I did
Yeah.
see a few
Yeah.
people online mention that if it was 60, that they would buy it. Similar situation, not similar, but kind of the same thing with like Alan Wake 2, right? Like nobody wants to buy it because it's only digital. There's some people that want it physical or they're not going to buy it at all. So like kind of similar concept. But the Shattered Space looks exciting. I think it's going to bring people back later this year after they explore, the differences with the 60 FPS mode. This is just going to bring them back again and have them enjoy the new content even more. So Bethesda always has nice, cool ways to attract new players and keep bringing players back. Same thing with Fallout 76. So
Yeah.
this is a very
Yeah.
exciting thing. It just goes to show that they care about the game and they're still working on it, and they're going to keep striving to make it the best game it could possibly be. And that's one of the beautiful things about Bethesda.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? Like you said, like hopefully, the rumors that have gone around about on planet vehicles. So instead of just walking and running around, you've got buggies, like you said. That would be cool, like a moon buggy, right? So that would be cool. I think that's a feature that's been asked for by the consumers that have already got the game, gamers out there that have got the game. So that's going to be really cool if they add that. And it'd also make getting around on some of these planets that, because there is quite a lot of planets that are quite barren, where, but you still have to like run a fair distance from one point to the next. So having a vehicle would cut down on that, I think. Especially for those that don't want to use like fast travel in situations like that and want to enjoy, like if you landed on the moon or landed on Mars and you could drive around on it, you know what I mean? So I'm excited for it. I think the other thing I'm looking at, and we already knew there was rumours around it, I'm wondering if this big, huge update followed by the Shattered Space expansion brings out the what you would refer to as the Game of the Year version, and that's the version that PlayStation gamers are going to get. I'm curious if that's where this is leading, because with the rumours circulating about Starfield being one game that Microsoft has considered, which I've said time and time again makes sense, because it originally was going to be going to PlayStation. It was going to be multi-plat before Bethesda got bought. I'm wondering if that's where it'll lead to, like a ultimate version or Game of the Year version or whatever you want to call it, and that's how they'll release it. So it'll be, I guess you could say, its final form, its final state, and they'll release it on PlayStation, so PlayStation gamers will get everything. They'll have all the new every update that's come out. They'll have the expansion and everything else in between. And I don't know if Shattered Space will be the final story expansion, because Todd said that they want to support this game for a while. So even if they came out with an ultimate version after the Shattered Space expansion, I still think there's more to come even after that. Because they're still going to cater to that whilst they're doing and working on Elder Scrolls 6. That's why they've come out and said, two things. They themselves didn't have any plans for Fallout 5 anytime soon, until they were at least finished with Starfield and got Elder Scrolls 6 out. Hence why the rumours are going around now that Microsoft may be looking to outsource to capitalise on the popularity of Fallout, and whether that means going outside of their current teams to do that. And I think that's where they're looking. They're looking outside their first party to get someone to make a Fallout 5.
Fortunately, Obsidian's too busy, so it won't be them.
It won't be them. I mean, their first party anyway, but they've got like 3 damn projects, as far as I'm aware, that they're going with, and obviously they're still doing things with Grounded as well. So they're too full on. But it'll be interesting to see who Microsoft gets to do Fallout 5 if it ain't going to be. And it will be different, because you're only used to Bethesda doing Fallouts, other than New Vegas, which was done by Obsidian and Bethesda. But if I want a Fallout, I would probably go to Ken Levine, who's known for BioShock, and maybe, I know, what are they doing? They're doing Judas, I believe it is. So
Judas right now.
Yeah, I would be asking them and say, hey, do you want to take Fallout on once you've, because I think Judas is supposed to hit this year, possibly. So that'd be a team I'd look at, because I think him and his team could do a fantastic job with Fallout. They've been doing a fantastic job with the BioShock, and when he was with that, and he took a few people with him, and I think Judas will be a really good game too. So that's just one team I'd be looking at But I'm sure that there'll be a few in mind anyway.
About Respawn.
Yeah. I mean, even
I can see them.
I don't know how much is on Remedy's plate, but Remedy could do it as well.
Oh no, bro! They're busy with Max Payne. They're busy with Control.
Well, they've got Control too.
No, their plate's full. Yeah, Control 2. Yeah, they're.
Otherwise,
they're
you could go to one of the bigger boys, and you could go to who's behind
Rockstar.
Red Dead. Yeah, Red Dead. Yeah, Rockstar. Rockstar could do it. Like, look at Red Dead and Red Dead 2. Like, so there's a few out there, but first to the top.
CD Projekt, maybe.
Yeah, that's another one as well.
But they're busy too, though, because they have Cyberpunk 2, and the new Witcher, and a spin-off Witcher.
Yeah.
Man.
So that's why I think that, for me personally, I'd be looking at Ken Levine and his team, because once they've done Judas and got that out, then there's nothing rumoured that they've got something else in the works, so they might be free enough to do it. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But interesting times. Moving along, though, we've got the first reviews. I think it's funny because it's actually getting reviewed better than it did on Xbox. The first PS5 reviews and what they're saying about Sea of Thieves. So it's Rare's first ever PlayStation game as well. So Push Square gave it a 9 out of 10. And they said Sea of Thieves is a blast when playing with friends. Its focus on cosmetic customization, we slipped into the pirate's life with ease. Even after 6 years of updates and seasonal changes, its natural and immersive approach to navigation makes it a seafaring sandbox well worth visiting, and a focus on cosmetics over high-tier loot make it a game you can play at your own place. Hobby Consolers gave it an 8.8 out of 10, saying not all treasures are made of gold and silver. Sea of Thieves lands on PlayStation, once again proving that this cooperative pirate adventure is the experience that many seek but few find. Not a perfect game, but its world and possibilities offer a journey that is as original as it is fun. But why, though, is another PlayStation site. They gave it 8 out of 10. Sea of Thieves is a great game that offers a lot between the PvE elements, PvP chaos, story missions, added content in the upcoming Season 12. There's a ton to engage with. Playing solo may be a mixed experience, but when it clicked, there was so much to enjoy with your time on the sea. Well, you're not really meant to play solo, but anyway. Hitting the high seas with the crew is a genuine blast, leading to absolute chaos. Another site also gave it an 8 out of 10. Saying Sea of Thieves is an excellent adventure to enjoy with friends, and in certain aspects, it is one of a kind. So, at the time of writing, PS5's Metacritic rating is trending quite a bit higher than its multi-platform score. So on PlayStation
bonus.
Yep, on PlayStation it's 85 versus a multi-plat score of 69.
Xbox tax.
I know, mate. And then the only thing I find funny about this, and I don't get involved in this console wars, but I do sit back and laugh at being a bunch of babies. But what I sit back and laugh at is all these PlayStation guys that sat there for years. Xbox games are crap, and we wouldn't play them, and we don't want them, and even if they came here, we still wouldn't play them, are all getting proven wrong, because this is a hit. Grounded is a hit. Hi-Fi Rush
We're all
is
topping the charts.
Yeah. And so clearly they want more. If Starfield is the next one, Starfield, I guarantee, becomes a hit.
You know what's even funnier, bro? I don't know if you heard about Stellar Yams, but it's got the highest user score on Metacritic right now in the year.
Yeah, that's funny. That is absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I mean, like, hey, this is how the industry's going. I think you can say probably quite clearly and confidently now that this move by Microsoft to do this with the games that they select to do it with has paid off. And I think as in the future, obviously they're going to continue. So whatever they select, I think will pay off. I think the only one that they took over that didn't really, I mean, it did all right. It actually did better than it did on Xbox, but it was probably the lowest of them all was Pentiment. But what surprised me is see, they all crapped on that game too. Oh, who wants to play a storybook? Who wants to play a story? And yet, it's got a better rating and did better on PlayStation than it did Xbox, which I find hilarious. I'm like, oh, but I thought you don't like playing games that are books. So interesting there. And on top of that, of course, Microsoft CEO committed to meeting players where they are after Xbox games. This wording will make you laugh. After Xbox games dominate PlayStation Store. So they've had 7 games that are among the top 25 sellers on Sony's console. How funny is that? we don't want
control.
we don't want Xbox games over here, but yeah, well, sure as hell, mate.
They're always wrong, bro. That's why it's funny, because they always say things that it ends up being the complete opposite.
Yeah. And so now Microsoft suggested that Xbox is starting to reap the rewards of its increased multi-platform focus. So while it already had a strong foothold on rival platforms, thanks to perennial bestsellers in Call of Duty and Minecraft, we know recently announced plans to bring more first-party games to PlayStation and Nintendo, starting with Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and Grounded. During Microsoft's third quarter earnings call recently, CEO Satya Nadella said Xbox games have been performing very, very strongly on the PlayStation Store. Earlier this month, and I quote, he said, "We had 7 games among the top 25 on the PlayStation Store, more than any other publisher." Nadella appeared to be referencing a recent report from Tweaktown, which found that Xbox had more first-party games among the PlayStation Store's 25 best-selling titles than Sony did themselves. Right? They had more in PlayStation's top 25 than Sony's first party. Now
man, victory is so sweet.
That is telling, right? That is telling, right? So on PS5, this was recorded on April 18th. Modern Warfare 3 was at number 2. Overwatch 2 was at number 7. Sea of Thieves was at number 12, Fallout 4 at number 16, Minecraft at number 19, Fallout 76 at number 20, Grounded at number 23. In comparison, 5 Sony published games made the list. They were MLB The Show 24, Destiny 2, and a trio of titles developed by third-party studios in Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Rise of the Rain. So he went on to say that they're committed to meeting players where they are by bringing great games to more people on more devices, and there's more games that will be coming across to PlayStation in the future. Activision Blizzard, of course, helped drive Microsoft's gaming division to a record third quarter, despite a significant decline yet again in Xbox hardware sales. So, and this is where I've talked about for a long time, that with them seeing this, so software-wise, they are a software company after all. They're not a hardware company. Even though, yes, they make consoles, but that's not what they've ever been really known as. They've always been known as the software company. Their software and their gaming, which is their software, is showing them that it's selling like hotcakes. Doesn't matter where they put it, whether that's on Xbox, on PC, on Nintendo, on PlayStation, on this, on that, whatever. And I come back to this, still they just can't go on an upward trajectory. I think we've talked about it once, and it was only such a small little upward trajectory. But most of the time, it's always down. I think if the trend keeps going, that I'm going to end up being right. They'll bring out this next home console along with that handheld, but the home console will be the last home console that they do. Because they just can't seem to climb the ladder with hardware. We know that that's their own problem, and they've done that to themselves. So while they're breaking records,
I'm telling you, man, if they go that premium console route, like I've said on previous podcasts, where they do the lower affordable handheld, like on the same price range as maybe the Series S, maybe a little bit more, and then they did the premium console where it was like I don't know how high they want to go on price, but I would say maybe 600 to 700 range, not go too high, but it'll definitely be way more powerful than the Series X. It's going to be almost like a medium to high end PC. If they go that high up, that might make a difference for a lot of people. But again, they need to keep delivering with their software, their first party.
Yeah. I mean, that's true too. And as I mentioned, like that handheld, I think will actually sell for them. I think that should sell as well as the Steam Deck and the Switch and everything else in between. So at least they're doing well with the games. That's a great sign for the gaming side of it. So it'll be interesting as the future unfolds as to what they end up doing, because I have a feeling like you said, they'll bring out the premium, and if they do that, then like I've mentioned, make less of them than what you're going to make and put into production with the handheld, because the handheld's going to sell more, and then that way you don't lose too much with the premium, and you get the premium in the hands of those that want the premium experience. And those same people too are going to double dip, mind you, because they're going to want the handheld as well for when they go out or go on holidays, etc. And then you're going to sell the handheld like hotcakes. And the big thing is, I wouldn't waste my time taking the premium device into the Asian markets, because I just don't think it'll sell, just like the current consoles don't really sell, and the console before it didn't really sell. The handheld is the one that they should release over in those markets, because that's going to sell, and that's just going to fly off the shelves, just like anything else. It's because of that culture. So I think they will see a big uptick with that handheld console. I as I said this whole time, I think that is the smartest decision from a hardware standpoint that they could possibly make, especially when, you've got the name brand behind you to sell it anyway. The legacy there, because they've been around for a minute. But you've seen everybody else, every other player that's come into that handheld market, and they've all sold. As many of them as there is, they have all sold. So everybody in the handheld market race is eating good. They're selling plenty and making money. And I think Microsoft can too. So I can't wait for that. But moving along, and I know this is a topic, brother, that you've been looking forward to, and you had some more news yourself on it this morning. But the Switch 2, so we've got more trickle of news that's come out. This bit of news that I've got, and then I'll let Ryan share his news that he's seen this morning. So this one comes from VGC. Switch 2 reportedly has magnetic Joy-Cons. Might not support the existing Joy-Cons because of this. And it's also claimed that the current Pro Controller will be compatible with Nintendo's new console. So that's a positive as well. So long-running Spanish video games website Vandal claims to have received information about the console from sources at peripherals manufacturers. According to the site, Switch 2's Joy-Con controllers will attach to the console magnetically. As current Joy-Cons connect to Switch using a rail system, it's unclear if they'll be forwards compatible with the new console or not. The existing Nintendo Switch Pro controller will work, though, with the Switch 2, it's claimed. Worth noting that prior to Switch OLED's reveal in 2021, Vandal accurately reported on some of the console's features, such as the inclusion of a new stand and an Ethernet port. VGC reported in February that Nintendo had internally delayed the launch of its next-gen console from this year to early 2025, and that's still the case. One publishing source suggested the delay was so that it could prepare stronger first-party software for the console, while others have claimed the move was made to avoid potential hardware supply issues. VGC also reported last summer the development kits for Switch 2 were in the hands of key partner studios as we speak. Two sources VGC spoke to at the time suggested that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of the more premium OLED in order to bring down costs, especially considering the increased storage needed for higher fidelity games. So get your thoughts on that, Ryan, and now you can add what you came across this morning with more Switch 2 news coming in.
So the Nintendo Switch 2 was reported from WFC Tech this morning. This is speculation from a couple of people on a podcast. Essentially, NVIDIA, what they were trying to target was 4 teraflops in dock mode, and then as low as 900 megahertz in handheld mode. The reason being for that is number one, better battery life. Number two, they're really concerned about, because Steam Deck and some of the other handhelds have issues with heating and getting too hot, overheating issues. And given that the Switch is a family device and with kids, they're trying to create the design the CPU to where it doesn't run so hard, so hot. So that is part of the reasoning behind the slower speeds. But this is mainly speculation from let me get over here, from the last episode of the Broken Silicon podcast featuring Moore's Law is Dead and the Fox. According to Moore's Law, this is from the people at NVIDIA who wanted to target this in dock mode. And to achieve this, they're supposedly the CPU clock's going to be overclocked. So I think Nintendo is really trying to push it as much as they can. They're suspecting that the third-party developers will more rely heavilier on DLSS utilization, and Nintendo will opt more for the optimization side of things with more of a lesser performance output, than what a third party would target is what they're suspecting. So that's the report from them. This is just rumor, but it would make sense given that, like I said, a lot of times, even with the normal Switch, sometimes it'll get a little warm on occasion. So I think this could be accurate, but again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm really excited for it. I'm not disappointed that it's only a modern evolution in terms of, like, it's not a huge big upgrade. It's kind of like a slight upgrade.
Yeah.
But I am a little puzzled though, because given that they were already, and I know that Nintendo's always been about the gameplay, right? The fun factor, right? They've never really been about power and hardware, and they've stressed that multiple times in interviews. So it doesn't surprise me that they didn't try to go all out with the hardware this time. What I really cared about, and the parts that people have brought up that were the key things, were the number one, the backwards compatibility with not just the software, but with the hardware. We're getting reports that the old Joy-Cons will work with the new Switch. You just won't be able to attach them, right? Because they won't have the magnetic tech like the new Joy-Cons will. So that's fine with me. Like, it's just the ability to use all of your previous controllers, which is really cool. Yeah. My big thing that I hope they improve upon, that they seem to never really put a heavily focus on, is their UI and their shop system, because it's pretty bad. Like, I don't know, it could be a lot of the hardware side of it, but it takes a long time to load the games when you're going through the shop, and you have to scroll down. It takes a while to load them. It's kind of it's just kind of clunky. I don't know how much you've messed with the eShop,
No,
but it's
I
not a
agree. It's
very
clunky.
well
Yeah, it's very
designed system.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping that they make some leaps and bounds. And I know a lot of people are not a fan of this and don't want this with the Switch, but I really do because I think it would add more to the system, and that's trophies. Like, do a Nintendo trophy system with the Nintendo icons, like mushroom, star, flower. Do like that kind of thing with your reward system. Maybe take a little spin on it from what Sony and Microsoft did, but make it kind of similar. People like to play games to make hit those little goals, right? Those little achievements. It just adds a little extra to it, and it sometimes it pulls you into games you necessarily wouldn't play all the way through or beat. I don't know. I'm kind of I'm the pro achievement people. Even though I don't 100% achievements every game, I still like to get the achievements. It's a nice little flair to it. What do you think, brother? Do you want to see trophies for Nintendo?
Yeah, either like a system, I guess, similar to PlayStation's, like you're talking about, or like a points reward system, like Microsoft's. Either way, where you're actually obviously if they take the Microsoft route, it would be like a Nintendo score, and so your score will be up in the right hand corner or left hand corner, and as get rack up your achievements in each game, it's giving you points, and then you can use those points. Like with Microsoft, you can use your points you've earned from that to purchase things in the store and stuff like that. So they could take that approach, or they could take the trophies approach. So I'm all for it, man. I think it'll add a new little element for them that they haven't had, that they've been lacking, and it just, especially if they take Microsoft's approach, it would give gamers more incentive, to really, not just say finish a game, but try and get as many, if not all, achievements as possible, knowing that it's going to be beneficial to them in the long run. Like they might not have to pay for some sort of, I don't know, cosmetic or DLC that they could, use the points for, kind of thing. Or if they sit there racking up enough points, they could buy a game at some point with just the points. Or if Nintendo has their own version of gold or something like that, whatever they can sort of work up and conjure up, I think it'd be beneficial, man. So I'm excited. The only thing I'm not liking is I wouldn't have went with LCD. I understand that they're doing it for cost side of things, but I think you could still manage to keep the costs relatively low by still having OLED.
To add to that, there's rumors that they're supposedly working on an OLED version as well.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, if they are, then I'll just hold off on the OLED, because I'd prefer the OLED version anyway. It just makes it, especially with their games, because OLEDs make the color pop, and like with their games being
they're very bright games. Yes.
Yeah, so
very colorful,
and it would give you that slight edge on resolution as well. And with an OLED, you'd have other things that you could implement in there, like your VRR tech and stuff like that. So I think they're better off going with an OLED, because LCD just feels so deep now, like from a gaming standpoint, and it just, yeah. You have too many issues with LCDs, really. Like, I know there's gamers that still got LCD screens, but most gamers, if they can get an OLED, and you don't even need an OLED my size, you can get them smaller now, I believe, at 40 something inch, I think. And you can usually get them for bargain deals too. A lot of the time these days, they seem to go on sale quite a bit. OLED's really the way to go for gaming. even a lot of people are going that route with gaming monitors. For my monitor, I haven't. I went because I had an OLED TV, so I wanted to be different. I went for more of a widescreen monitor. One of those wider wraparound ones, ultra wide. Just to have something different for a monitor screen. Considering otherwise I'd just have two OLEDs, which essentially would do the same thing. But if you haven't got, if you haven't got the money for a television OLED, you could afford an OLED monitor because they'd be cheaper. And from all accounts of when I've done the research on them, they are cheaper than obviously a TV. So I would like to see an OLED screen. Hopefully they bring out a version like you said. Whether that comes alongside it or you will be waiting a couple of years after the release of it, I don't know. But either way, if it is true and they're going to bring out one, I'll just hold off on that. I don't care if it doesn't come out for 2 or 3 years after it. I'll just hold out for the OLED version because I prefer that, especially with their games and stuff. So, but interesting, man. I hope we continue to get more Switch 2 news because I think, I did have a Switch and then my kids being rough as hell wrecked it on me. And so I was contemplating, do I get another Switch or do I get the Switch OLED? I was like, nah. Well, when the news started breaking of this, I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm better off saving my money, keeping that and get the Switch 2. If when it's coming up to release and then they confirm like it's going to be many, 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 many years till an OLED or there's no OLED version at all, then obviously I'll just buy it out of the gate, But I'm excited for it because it might not be the leap that we probably wanted, but it in a lot of ways it is a significant jump up, which wouldn't be hard to do, but it is a significant jump up on the Switch.
You just reminded me of something, and this is news to everybody as well on the show. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but somebody pointed out that there was a list on Miyamoto's IMDb page of like all the games that he's producer of, and a lot of them were unannounced titles for the Switch 2. And on that list was a new Mario 3D game, a new Star Fox game, a new Zelda, obviously, and there were some other interesting ones as well that were on that I can't think of right off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up, but I'm not sure how accurate that list is because it's on, like I said, it's on IMDb. But it makes a lot of sense. A lot of those titles, Metroid, or no, he's not involved in Metroid. Sorry, that wasn't on the list. I'm trying to think of the other ones right now, but yeah, I'm really excited because we already knew Mario was coming, but like, a new Donkey Kong. That's it. That's what I was thinking. A new Donkey Kong.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that and Star Fox. I really hope that. I know a lot of people were not keen on adventures, but I kind of like adventures. I would be really interested if they went that route, but they did a cross between like traditional Star Fox and like planets, like 3D, like hybrid Star Fox, where like you traverse planets and you have space battles. Like that would be cool.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, moving right along. And I suppose we could do this as a combined last topic here, because it all kind of fits into the one category. Xbox news for Xbox gamers out there. So it's been announced. There's apparently, something was leaked and there's a double whammy. So they're doing like a showcase, but also a direct type of thing too, following the showcase as well. So you're going to get a double dose here. And the direct immediately follows the showcase. So, damn, you could end up with almost anywhere between 2 to 3 hours worth of footage here. So, it's confirmed for June. The biggest day of the year for Xbox fans is now on the horizon. The showcase and the direct come on June the 9th, which is a Sunday. Microsoft confirmed the date and time earlier today.
They love Sundays for their showcases.
They do. And like we discussed in the DMs, I'll be looking at us going live on the channel to cover that on the day of, because if it's doable, that'll be fantastic. I always like doing these live reaction shows. And now we both got cameras here, and hopefully anybody else that joins has got cameras. You can see our expressions, so makes it a lot more interesting as well. So you can. It's always better to see the excitement of someone's face. You'll see us, me and Ryan at least, acting like little kids in a candy store with some of these games that are going to be shown off.
There's also some new little, also juicy rumors that came up.
Yes.
Somebody asked. It was pretty much 100% confirmed that we will see Gear 6 at the show. And somebody asked Tom Warren, he said that's not the only Gears announcement we're getting. And I was like, whoo-hoo! The Marcus Phoenix collection, let's go.
You know what?
That's what I was thinking right away.
Well,
I know.
Here's here's the other thing I'll put there. If it's,
or the movie, either way.
I have a feeling it's the new Gears and news on the movie. That's what I'm thinking. Heck, they might throw triple at us, and they might say, "Yep, this is the Gears 6 will be out next year. The movie's on the horizon, and we are working on a Marcus Phoenix clip." That would be freaking phenomenal, man. But yeah, I mean, we what did we say on last week's pod, or when we did our last pod? One of the voice actors had hinted at it too. So Gears will be showing up there. A new Call of Duty that's set in the 90s around the Gulf War is going to be shown off there as well.
Marcus Phoenix's son. I forgot his actor's name.
Yeah, that's who hinted at it. And it'll be the first showcase featuring games from portfolio of studios across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios, in addition to titles from our third-party partners they've announced. So yeah, a double whammy on the one day. So it's going to be a big day, June 9th, with the showcase and then the direct to follow. And leaning into that, so other things that are going to clearly show up, and we've got some rumoured targeted dates. So not set in stone dates, targeted dates. So following the announcement of this showcase, The Verge also reported saying that Starfield Shattered Space expansion is currently targeting September. The next Call of Duty is targeting late October. Avowed is targeting November, as well as Microsoft Flight Simulator. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle should finish the year out and is targeting December. Now, obviously, rumours like these should always be taken with a pinch of salt, as release windows can often change significantly during development. So there's a chance everything here could shift. If things go to plan, it sounds like we're going to have a very, very busy end of the year, culminating with Indy in December. And as I mentioned earlier, so the claim with Call of Duty is it's a new Black Ops game set in the early 90s during the Gulf War, which is obviously being developed by Treyarch. So what is interesting to me, and I said this to Trin when I seen the news, if this sticks to plan, I don't like it for one reason. Too many of these games coming too close together, and I'm kind of hoping something moves forward, because they bring out because also in September is Stalker 2, which essentially at the moment is
a huge gap, bro, because if it's Hellblade's in May, right?
Hellblade is this month, right? And then what they're essentially saying, if this is their targeted dates, and as I said, Stalker 2 is September as well. There is nothing in between June and September. I
Powerboard maybe, but
so this is the yeah. I'm talking more on though on their AAA front, like their bigger games. You know, they get obviously the more notoriety and stuff like that. Now, Avowed, I know for a fact, has been in development longer than Indie, right? And I'm pretty sure they've been even working on the flight sim a lot for a while too. I would have thought that. See, I prefer a spread out release date, so you're not just chucking everything in the one spot. The other thing I'm concerned about here.
I don't know about you, but didn't Avowed look a little rough to you?
It did, and maybe
like the
maybe
last
that's
trailer
why,
looked
yeah.
like it still needed a little more time.
Yeah, right. So the thing is they're only going to have Hellblade in the Game of the Year conversation, right? Maybe the new Call of Duty, because Avowed, if it comes out in November, and Indie's coming out in December, they probably won't make the list. Maybe if Avowed, maybe
Stalker's not going to make it.
So well, Stalker will be at the Game Awards. It probably won't be up for Game of the Year. Might be my Game of the Year, but it's definitely going to come in September. That's set in stone. They haven't got any qualms now. They've been full steam ahead for a little while now, but it's so heavy at the back end. I'm kind of hoping, okay, so, you know, I'll agree with you, Avowed looked a little bit rough, so maybe it does need to the end of the year before it comes out. But I would bring Flight Sim at least coming out in July. So, okay, you bring out Hellblade in May. You got nothing for June, that's fine. But I'd bring, if it's possible, Flight Sim out in July, because then you've only got August then in between July to September, right? And then September you will have Stalker 2 and the expansion of Starfield holding it up, right? Then you'll have Call of Duty in October, then Avowed November, Indie in December, right? But, and granted, like I said, a Flight Sim I'd treat like a Forza game, right? You could play that alongside playing these single player games. You know, you're playing your, it's coming out in November, so you're playing Avowed, for example. You want to break from Avowed, so you want to go fly in the skies just to chill, just to relax. You know, you could do that. I just don't like if this sticks to plan. They're too heavy at the end of the year for my liking. I'd like something either coming out in July, because
Avowed was planned on coming out in summer, right? So
yeah.
They must have saw that trailer and were like, they kind of got spooked.
Yeah, I would like to see something come out in July. The only reason I say that is you can get away with not having anything in June, because Hellblade 2 comes out at the end of May, which is leading into June anyway, so people still probably be freshly playing that, or even some might not pick it up till June. But I'd like something in July or like the start of August. Something. Just, you know, that's why I'm kind of hoping maybe Flight Sim's going that well in development that maybe they can, you know... Like
I don't think anything else is ready, bro, to be honest with you.
No, the only thing, like you said, Towerborn might fill a need there, but it's not AAA or anything like that. But I think...
Replaced, but that's not AAA either.
But I think Flight Sim could be the game that they could move forward. I think the last time I seen Flight Sim 2024, man, it looked freaking spectacular. So maybe their development's going that good that they could bring it forward. Heck, even if they could only bring it forward to August, would be nice.
They did a K3.
No, I don't think that's anywhere on the horizon.
No. Okay.
It would be funny though if they turned around. And said, it would be funny if they turned around and said Gear 6 is dropping in July or August. that would be.
Or what about if it was just the Marcus Phoenix collection for now, and then we get Gear 6 next year?
If they had been working on that side by side and say that's ready, and obviously a collection like that you would think would probably be ready sooner than a new game, because all you're essentially doing is getting the older games and giving them a facelift essentially. I know there's a lot of work that still goes into that, you know, a la RE4 for example, and the other Resident Evils, you know, but the process would be quicker than, you know, building a new game and new foundation for a game. So that would be all right if it's been in the works long enough and they reckon that is ready. You could drop that in July or August, and then you wouldn't be having so big a gap. So then at the end of May you'd have Hellblade 2, then you'd have, you know, Towerborn and say a Gears collection there, and then come September, you know, but even from September it's just going to be bang, 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 bang. And the thing I worry about is not really flight sim. As I said, you can use that like Forza as like a...
You know why I think it will be okay? Because Sony doesn't have any first party all this year.
No.
So that might be okay.
Clearly Indiana Jones is not going to be at the Game Awards or anything, because if it's targeting December, we always know that the Game Awards are kind of early December. It all depends on what date in December it comes out, but
well, they did say holiday before, so that makes sense, you know, but still, yeah.
So it's unfortunately going to miss out, even though I have this feeling it's going to miss the Game Awards, and then people are going to be like, damn, I wish this came out just that little bit sooner because this is Game of the Year. I just have this feeling that the poor game could be Game of the Year and it's going to miss out. But if Avowed can sneak
Xbox
in,
tax.
If Avowed can sneak in, and the new, I tell you what, this new Call of Duty wants to have a big bounce back year, because last year it got smashed to bits. You could essentially have Microsoft competing against itself for Game of the Year. Like you could have Hellblade competing against the new Call of Duty, competing against Avowed, and whatever third parties make the list as well. That would be pretty funny. That'd be a first, and then you'd be sitting there going, well, they got a 1 in 3 chance, haven't they? But I believe Hellblade will, if it comes out the way I think it's going to come out, I think it has a very, very, very good chance at being this year's Game of the Year.
So far what I have on Sony's side is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Stellar Blade are probably going to be in their Game of the Year so far.
Look, as great as Stellar Blade is, and I can't wait for the PC version, I think it'll make some categories. I don't know if it'll make Game of the Year though. I don't think it's great without being amazing, put it that way. I don't think it will. Final Fantasy has a very good chance. You know, Final Fantasy's made it into a Game of Year conversations before and that. So that
maybe
probably
Helldivers.
Nah, I think that'll be up for a multitude of awards too. Definitely multiplayer award and stuff like that. But I think really only Final Fantasy on their behalf. Hey, what's good, Cozy? What's good, sis? Good to see you. I think Hellblade might have a clear-cut victory. I think, unless some big third party I'm not thinking of at the top of my head right now has something stellar, I think Hellblade 2 is going to be the cream that rises to the top and give Microsoft their first Game of the Year victory. Game of the Year win. That's going to be a hard... Yeah, that's going to be a hard game to knock off Top Perch from the sound.
That's one of the big weapons that the fanboys use online is the fact that Xbox has not won the Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
But you think about this game, from the graphically to the sound to the gameplay to the story, right? 4 big major things that if you hit the amazing level on all 4 of those things, you've got a hell of a game there. And I think that Ninja Theory has hit every single note there that I've just mentioned. In my opinion, it's this year's Alan Wake 2, and Alan Wake 2 came oh so damn close to taking our Game of the Year last year. It was just that Baldur's Gate 3 was there, and that was a fantastic game. You don't have a Baldur's Gate 3 type of game, though, this year. And no Dragon's Dogma 2 came out, but it's not going to be in the conversation. I don't think. Had too many issues for it to be in the conversation. Good game. Starting to become even more fun with the updates, but I think there was too much going wrong with it for it to make the conversation. It would be freaking hilarious. We've seen it before. It would be hilarious if the Fallout 4 gets in the conversation because of the new next-gen update. Oh, and I'd be like, oh, cool, 2015.
Wouldn't it be so hilarious?
Yeah, 2000.
They'd be so mad.
And imagine if it took it out too. 2015 game takes out the Game of the Year awards for 2024. 10 years.
Somebody created a meme that showed all the PlayStation first-party games and what their highest stream count was on Steam, and then they showed Fallout 4, and it beat all of them.
Yeah,
that was funny. Because Fallout's hit 143,000 consistent now on Steam.
Yeah, it in 76, man, the player count just went boom straight through the roof. Both games are just being played by probably every man and his dog out there right now.
You're having a blast with the mod, right?
Yeah. The mod is freaking fantastic. The mod is, let me get the name of it up here. It's called A Story Wealth. And it literally is a whole collection instead of downloading individual things. Whole massive collection of story expansions, bug fixes, new characters, etc., and it really makes for a whole new game. And we're not that far away from essentially having two games in one, because that London expansion is essentially another game. It's that big. It's essentially a game within a game, if you will. So if that comes out, which is saying they might have only had to delay it a month, they believe, due to the new update, just to make sure it's going to work with the new update. That essentially makes Fallout 4 a new game again, because of that update being a new game, essentially. So I'm wondering if, because of the next-gen update plus London, and London will be out well and truly before Keighley's Awards, if that entails and allows it to be considered in any of the award categories, whether it is Game of the Year or other categories, because it's essentially going to be a new game. And the reason I say that as well is RE4, for example, was an old game, but got a new lease on life because it got, redone and fresh coat of paint. And it was up for awards, and it was even being talked about and considered getting into Game of the Year. So if that can be considered and talked about, then Fallout 4 has to as well. So it would be interesting if come his awards, Fallout 4 sneaks in there for some of those categories. It really would. As I said, just purely because it's got a next-gen update, fresh coat of paint there, but then London, you add London in there with Boston, you got a whole new game. Essentially with London. That's a whole new game with new characters, new stories. It could essentially be its own thing. You know what I mean? Like, granted, they'd probably have to just release it digitally like Alan Wake 2. But it could be its own game. They could just call it Fallout London. So it could be its own thing, basically like Fallout New Vegas. So I'm curious, man. And it's going to be a curious time of the year, but Gears 6, man, it's going to be epic to see something on Gears 6, obviously get a release date. As I said, I don't think we see that anytime until maybe next year sometime, and I think it'll be middle to late next year at the earliest. Otherwise, it could be a 2026 release. I'll confidently say it'll be out either in 2025 or 2026. It won't be any further out than 2026. We just won't see it this year. May see if the collection is actually a real thing. We might see that this year, maybe. Or we might see them both released next year. Don't know. Call of Duty for me doesn't interest me. I've lost complete interest in Call of Duty. I've played too many of them, and they're just too samey for me nowadays. Like, doesn't really offer me anything new. So I kind of fell off with Call of Duty myself. I know Call of Duty still has its audience, always will have its audience, but it doesn't do anything. Doesn't get the juices flowing for me.
Kind of outgrown it, right?
Yeah,
like me.
Yeah. Like, it's just, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to Starfield's expansion. That's going to be cool because it's been a minute since I've dived into Starfield. This is going to make me dive back in again. And I'm curious to see more of Avowed, and I'm really hoping it. I understand the artistic design that they've taken, and I'm fine with that. Don't mind that cartoony design. I just want to see it sharpened up more than what we last seen. And Indy, well, I've got no qualms about Indy as far as what we've seen so far. I know we've only seen a little gameplay, but it looked good. The only thing I hope with that, which would be cool, is I don't know if it's something that they could add later on. Maybe they can. And I know that it's going to go in between during the game for certain things. You'll get that third-person view, but I'm wondering if maybe at a later date they add third-person as a playable option. Maybe when it gets to like, hey, this is the Ultimate Edition, Indiana Jones,
the modders will do it, bro. You won't have to worry about them. PC, they're gonna do it. They will.
Yeah, the modders definitely will. Oh, talking about modding too, Todd Howard said that is still don't for anybody worrying.
That's coming soon for Starfield.
Yeah. He's seen that there was people worrying like, is there ever going to be modding? Bethesda always has modding for their game. It is coming. So the modding community. Oh man. That's
gonna go insane.
That game is just going to be otherworldly when modders start going hardcore. You've seen what they've done with other games, from the Elder Scrolls games to the Fallout games. Man, the modding community is going to have so much fun with space, though. I want the space-time continuum. But this show's going to be cool. I'm interested to see how much allotted time that they allow. Like, because we know the showcase is usually the bigger event and the longer event. We know the directs are usually about that 45 minutes. So I'm wondering if the showcase will be an hour or just over an hour, followed by the direct, which is 45 minutes. So essentially you're getting a 2-hour show. Maybe they push it to 2.5 hours, and like the showcase is an hour and a half in the direct.
I think it's going to be like last year. I like the format last year. Games, and then Starfield Direct.
Yeah.
Like, that was perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Do you want them to change it up?
No, I mean, like, I hope they go with that, because that's what people want. People don't want to see too much talking of these. They just want to see the game show. Like, if you're going to do the talking, talk as the game's being shown. Like, don't have your segments where you go back and you're just seeing someone up there talking. You know what I mean? I think it's better when the game is visually on the screen and then you're talking, like, you know how they do, some of these game companies do dev diaries. And so you can actually, they've got the actual game on the screen as they're talking about it. And so you can,
or they're introducing the game.
Yeah, and so you can visually see when they get to moments where they're describing things, and like with the Forza team, for example, the Horizon team, when they're going over the individual bloody blades of grass and the gravel and, you know, details like that, and they're showing you visually, like, I think that's more beneficial because you get a much clearer understanding of what they're talking about, what they're going on about as they're discussing it. But man, this is going to be an exciting show for Xbox gamers and PC gamers alike. This is going to be an exciting show. One thing I would be interested to see is if at this show, if they will announce Starfield as coming to, like, an ultimate version of Starfield coming to PlayStation. That would be interesting because they'd want to make a big deal out of something like that, especially because they're all about meeting the player where the player is. It's not going to take away from the show by doing that. It just gets people pumped, and it's going to get more eyes on it again. You know what I mean? Like, so PlayStation viewers that might be tuning in. Oh, okay, cool. So we're getting Starfield. Okay, cool. Not talking about the silly fanboys that we all see on a daily basis on the socials there. I'm just talking about normal PlayStation gamers that are there for the games and, don't do the hate.
You know what they're going to do, bro? If it does release on PS5, they're all going to praise it and like, oh, this is amazing. I love Starfield.
Well, it's going to end up being, it's going to be like the rest of the games that have gone there already. And in some cases are actually getting better reviewed. It's ridiculous in that case because
Xbox tax. I'm telling you, man. People don't think it exists. It does, man.
Considering that it's the same.
There's too many coincidences.
Mind you, I mean, Grounded was running. I think it was Grounded. Yeah, Grounded was running fine, and then after the last update, it was running better on PlayStation, and then the last update happened, and now it's not. Everyone's
now
like,
it's running better on Xbox. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, good God. Okay, that's going to create a new narrative. But what else do you think? Before we get on out of here, what else other than those that they're talking about? What else do you think they could show off here?
We're definitely going to see Hollow Knight Silksong. That's definitely going to make an appearance. I think we're going to finally see more of Contraband, I'm hoping, because that's been really quiet ever since they announced the flashy logo. I would like to see at least something from that, and finally the long-awaited Accursed, one of the most cursed projects Microsoft has ever had, and that's Perfect Dark. We got to see something, even if they've been working on it way too long. They got to have at least some sort of trailer or gameplay put together by now, because if they don't show Perfect Dark by now, that's a problem. Like that just goes to show that all that reporting was accurate after all, and that game was in a lot of development trouble. I'm really hoping that that's dispelled and we finally get to see it some more this year. And then I'm okay if we don't see Fable. I mean, I think we will. I hope we do. I hope we see a little Fable. But Microsoft, what they did last year is they only focused on the games that were coming out. Well, no, I take that back. They did have a few surprises of games that didn't come out this year. No. I'm hoping they do the same thing where they're going to show the titles they've already announced for this year, and then they're going to show a couple of the other games that are still in development. And I hope those other games are either Everwild, Perfect Dark, or Contraband. I would like to see more of as well. And there was the other one. I think this one's further off, but the one that the Dragon Age team was working on, the Hitman team, the IO Interactive title, the Project Dragon or whatever. Yeah. I hope we see maybe that. What was the other one? Maybe more South of Midnight. I would like to see maybe some gameplay of that. I know that's probably still a little ways off. Maybe more Clockwork. I would love to see more Clockwork Revolution. That game looks amazing. Those are the ones that I want to see.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling we'll see more of Fable, because I think that's a title for next year. And I'd like to see the other two games you just mentioned, bit more of Clockwork and South of Midnight. I want to see some gameplay. We've seen a bit of gameplay for Clockwork, but I want to see some gameplay on South of Midnight. I'm wondering if we're actually going to see anything on. Now I'm spacing on the game. It was a game that they outsourced because it's not one of their first party working on it, but it is going to be exclusive. At the moment, it's only going to be exclusive on it. What is it called? Everybody thought it was going to come out this year.
You think we'll see any new ABK games, like any new IP from them? Even though the murder's still fresh.
Yeah, I think we might. I'm trying to think of that other game.
Oh, I think one other thing. Game Pass. I think we're gonna get some Activision titles going to Game Pass, like a lot of the older games. I would predict.
What was that shooter? What's that shooter that is Xbox exclusive at the moment, but it's not made by one of their first person. It's not made by one of their first party games. It was shown off the year before last, I think. I think it begins with a C. Not Counter-Strike. Not Commander.
I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, there was a game, and we were all it showed in the clip. It had cool music, and it showed a gun, and I'm trying to think. I can't think of the damn game now. But we haven't heard.
The developer.
I know, as I said, it's a third-party dev that I think Microsoft. It's one of those teams that Microsoft they were working with to see if it was a good fit, just like they'd been working with IO to see if that was a good fit. Contraband, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Thank you, Trim.
Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, Contraband. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Contraband. So I want to see more of that because we haven't heard nothing of that game since it was shown. So I don't know if it's been in development hell. I don't know if it hasn't, then where they're at with it. But I thought that was a game that was going to be released this year, and clearly it doesn't seem like it is. But I would like to think that it was going to come out next year. I mean, I think it was 2022 when we seen it. I believe it was late.
What about, do you think it's too soon for Forza Horizon 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not to say...
Because they have two different teams working on one. There's a different team working on Fable, right? Than the Horizon team?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. And so... I think, though, what they could do is have a background of Japan, and have a car and show that off as Forza Horizon 6 like that. That's where it's going to be. You're going to be playing in Japan because people have been screaming for Japan for ages now.
It was one of the most requested, of the ones.
And they chose. Everyone thought they might have done it with 5, and they chose. They choose Mexico or wherever they were. And so I think Japan is the next logical one. It has to be. The next Horizon's got to be Japan. I think too many people will be pissed off if it's not. If it's not Japan. Because they've already done Australia. They've already done England. They've already done Mexico. Got to be Japan. That'd be the next logical sort of one, especially because everyone's screaming for it. And I mean, we've got a few teams that haven't announced anything yet either, and a few teams that they've got from the ABK deal, which would be interesting. I wonder if Toys for Bob, I know they're no longer under Microsoft anymore, but they're doing a project with Microsoft. I'm wondering if they will show or talk about anything or whatever their new project's going to be.
I have a feeling they're going to have them do Banjo. That's just my gut instinct.
Well, I don't know.
Or another crash.
It's interesting because, as I said, they're out on their own now. They're essentially in their own little development studio, but they're just working with most. So they're out on their own. I don't know how that's going to work or how long that's going to work for, because they're not exactly a big studio. So whatever they're working on is probably only going to be AA. That's what I would imagine. I mean, maybe the one they work with Microsoft might be AAA because Microsoft will fund that. But anything that they're not working with Microsoft with, obviously they'd be clearly only really using their own funds, or trying to get their own funding. So that'll be interesting. I think we see something new from Blizzard. We know that they've got a few projects in the works, Blizzard, outside of maintaining World of Warcraft as such. Maybe they announce a year of when World of Warcraft's hitting console. I know they keep talking about it. I don't know if they've started taking any action on that. I think.
What about Project Mara? That's another Ninja Theory game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's Ninja Theory. Maybe. I mean, Hellblade is already going to be out by the time this showcase rolls around, so maybe. I don't know how far they're into that though. That's the only problem. But Perfect Dark and Everwild. Yeah, I don't know if those. I've said
you don't think they would have at least maybe not Rare, but you wouldn't think by now the Initiative and Dynamics, they wouldn't have at least a little snippet to show us by now. I mean, they've had plenty of time, even though they've shuffled development multiple times. I
was going to say, if we don't see it, if we don't see anything from that game I'll say within the next 12 months, and I think that game's DOA. If they don't show anything in the next 12 months, or they don't say anything about it in the next 12 months, then that game's dead on arrival, bro. Like, it's either going to be canned, or it's going to be the last game that releases on this console, or it gets pushed completely to the next gen. Like that game is just right now, as I like to say, it's up shit's creek without a paddle. And yeah, I don't know. And now I'd say it's more of a Crystal Dynamics game than it is the Initiative, because the Initiative just has people walk out all the freaking time. Yeah, it's so sad, man, what's going on with that, because that game should have been an absolute stellar AAA game. Hopefully it still can be, but I've just got no confidence in that at all. I've got more confidence in seeing Everwild at some point than I do Perfect Dark.
Oh, here's one. It's not as relevant anymore. It's not a new game, but the long-awaited, for some few people, the Redfall DLC. Maybe we'll see that.
Maybe. Maybe.
Look on your face, bro.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to do anything for it though. That player count has just dropped off dramatically. Like, don't get me wrong, me and Trin had fun with it. There was still a lot wrong with it.
Yeah, though. I beat it. But you're right.
We beat it. We beat it ourselves, and yeah, I can't say that we didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but once you've done it, kind of thing. There's nothing there that really makes you coming back for more, which sucks, because I love vampires and I wanted it to be a great vampire game, and it failed. Failed miserably. Thank God Blade's on the coming at some point.
Yeah, we probably won't see more of that because it's still too early.
No. I don't think you'll see more of that until sometime next. Maybe the showcase next year you'll see more of that, or even the director, whatever. But yeah, we desperately need a great vampire game, and there hasn't been one since the Blood Rain series. And I thought Redfall was gonna fill that void, and it didn't. You know, I'm not going to sit there and completely rat on it. Like I as I said, I had fun with it, and I did enjoy it, but it wasn't without, you know, still picking it apart of what was wrong with it, and because essentially it's a multiplayer live service in retrospect, I just don't think it's got the depth to hang in there. It's going to be another one that's going to be a come and gone in the blink of an eye kind of thing, unfortunately. I think maybe I think that maybe the DLC expansion, you know, it'll get a few people come back in, and I'll probably jump back in just to complete it, so that way then I've completely 100%ed it, even though I've 100%ed it as it is. But if they're going to add something else, obviously you'll want to complete it, and maybe they can get it in a better state again, you know, with more fixes and stuff. But realistically, they've essentially, without completely giving up on, they've essentially given up on that, moved on. They really have. They're probably only going to put out that expansion, like you said, and do the bare minimum, and tick it up on the drawing board as a loss, and move on to the next project. They would have been better off if that was a single player. If they had made that, which is that, you know, teams, Arcane, that's what they're more known for, single player driven games. I think that's what messed them up. Still have your characters that you could choose from, that's fine, but it should have just been a single player experience. Single player experience with the option for co-op. And then it could have been a different story, because then they could have put a little bit more focus on other areas and making sure things were right. I thought graphically, I enjoyed it graphically. I didn't think there's anything wrong graphically. I loved the art style that they chose. I love the world that they created. As I said, there is some good through a lot of the bad. You know, the characters were cool, the powers were cool. You know, there was stuff there that if they didn't rush it out, because I think it was rushed out, and if Microsoft actually had you know, jumped in on the studio to check in on them and go, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done here. I wouldn't have cared if it was delayed, even delayed for another 12 months. I know it had already gone through a bunch of delays, but I'd rather them delay it and continue to delay it and cop heat for delaying it than cop the heat that they got for how it was presented when it released. It clearly needed more time in the oven, and I think there was good aspects to it to create a bloody good game, and unfortunately it just didn't pan out that way, and they weren't allowed their time to cook. And I think there might have been a lack of direction as well, because it seemed like the team was in a little bit of disarray of what they wanted to do, a vampire game, but it seemed people were sort of thinking it was going to be different things and go in different directions, as well as with the story and such. So too much miscommunication there, not enough hands-on by Microsoft. Like, Microsoft really should have jumped on it sooner. You know, just like how Microsoft, I think, should have jumped on the initiative sooner with all the problems going on there. It's clear as day when people are walking out and leaving, you know, left, right and centre. Something's clearly going on. You need to find out what's going on with your studio. They're working on a major game that your gamers and your consumers are looking forward to, and every bit of news that comes out has got nothing to do with the game. It's got to do with this person's now left and this person's now left. Oh, there's problems in the workplace. The game's in development hell. People aren't agreeing. You got to get in there. Phil's got to get in there and say what the bloody hell's going on. He should have done the same with Arcane Austin. Good concept. Where are we going with it? What are we doing? This doesn't look right. Doesn't feel right. What direction do you really want to go here? They wanted to completely scrap from being a multiplayer and go, look, single player is our forte. Can we have more time to make this thing? Then give them more time to make a single player game. You know, like, it's the mismanagement and the miscommunication that's messing up some of these projects under Microsoft. Not all, just some. That was one of them. Everwild's another one. Should have been on top of Rare.
It's like Charlie said. I really wish they would stop shooting themselves in the frickin' foot.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
As I said, stop. There is some teams that you can just leave alone, and you can take the hands off approach. Like, you don't need to be hands on with any of the Forza teams. They're perfectly fine. You don't need to be hands on with the Coalition. Perfectly fine. 343 finally seems to be straightened out. So, you know,
Undead Labs, you need to, for sure.
Yeah, they need to be hands on there, right? But Compulsion's fine on their own. You don't need to be hands on there.
Yes.
Right?
Arcane, you need to.
Well, at least Arcane Austin you do. Arcane Leon, which is the, as I like to call it, the A team, whereas Austin's the B team. The A team's fine. I think.
Here's something new, brother. I just thought of thanks to you. Will we see any new games from Tango at the show? Yeah. Tango Gameworks.
Maybe
they're another one that
maybe a
doesn't need supervision.
No, clearly not. Either a Hi-Fi Rush 2 or Deathloop 2, maybe something like that.
Or Evil Within 3.
Evil Within 3, yeah, that would be epic. But yeah, as I said, they've got teams under their belt that they can just let be. And then they've got teams that they clearly need to be hands-on with. And we've just named a few, but they should have been on top of it sooner with the initiative. Perfect Dark, man, like, it's not a game and an IP that you really want to mess up, considering so many gamers were looking forward to it, and it had been a long, long time in between Perfect Dark games. So when you've got gamers that have been waiting so long and eagerly anticipate, you want to keep that anticipation there, and I think that anticipation is completely flatlined. They need to build that back up again, obviously, when they're ready to show it off, and when it's obviously clearly they know when they're going to release it or when it's going to be ready for release. I hope it still comes out at some point, whether it's this generation to finish this generation or whether it's the start of next generation. I just hope it comes out at some point. But yeah, whilst you're just not, the only thing you're hearing is people leaving, and you're not actually hearing anything real positive about how the game's actually going, or dead silence.
It's always been negative.
Yeah, it's either negative or dead silence. It's not a good sign. Same with Everwild, you know. Not anything. The only positive thing there is you haven't heard anything negative when it pertains to Everwild, but it's just dead silence. You know, so no news on the progression or when we could roughly expect it, or you know, what's changed about it. I know they weren't changing the art style or anything like that. They were happy with that. It was more that they needed to make their mind up of what the story was going to be, what direction they really wanted to, you know, what they essentially wanted to make. Was it going to be an FPS? Was it going to be an RPG? You know, so as I said, so I have slightly a little bit more faith in that team to get that game out before Perfect Dark. So yeah. Either way, even with those two games missing out, I think this showcase is going to show some things, and I think there might be a surprise or two there. What those surprise or two there is going to be is another thing, but is anyone's guess. But I think there might be a surprise or two that show up that might not be on people's bingo cards. You know, we know the main culprits that are going to show up there. We know Gears is definitely going to be there. Call of Duty, possibly Fable. We would probably.
Do you think they should do a shadow drop, or do you think that would be big?
Maybe. I mean, if Towerborn's ready to go, because it's a smaller game. Usually with these shadow drops, they seem to be smaller games.
They're the small ones, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, but no, I'm not expecting a shadow drop. That could be a good thing for Microsoft too, if most people go.
There's been no rumors so far.
No.
Jez and Jeff Grubb, they're the ones who usually run their mouths pretty quick on that.
Yeah, maybe they're keeping tight-lipped and they want everybody going in thinking they're not going to shadow drop, and then that's the surprise, they shadow drop something. Usually I find that's when shadow drops usually happen too, when you don't even, no one's talking about, you don't even know. Like, no one really sort of knew about that Hi-Fi Rush was going to be dropped. No one was really talking about that, and then they just dropped. You know what I mean? So, maybe. I won't say that it's not a possibility, because they've done it before, obviously, but I'm not expecting it. But I do expect a surprise or two, like a game to show up there that none of us are even thinking about, you know? As I said,
Game Pass surprises for sure.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Maybe some big third-party deals for Game Pass. That would probably be... I think... I have a feeling third-party wise, I have a feeling there's going to be something big to do with Square Enix, with that new partnership that they got done. I have a feeling Square Enix is going to have something to do with Final Fantasy there. Some of these Final Fantasy games that have skipped the Xbox coming to Xbox finally. Like, well,
the thing that makes me think that's not true, because last year, remember, they did Visions of Mana. And that's a Square title. So I don't know if they would do two Square games back to back, but they do have a new partnership with them. It would be really nice if they dropped Final Fantasy VII.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh my! I think that would be.
I think they turn up. I think they turn up there with Square, and I think it'll have something to do with Final Fantasy 7 and 16. I think they're going to turn around and say, right, these games.
Yeah, that's it. 16, not 7.
Yeah. I think they will announce collaboratively when that's coming to Xbox. Because that's really, outside Visions of Mana, that's the one game people are wanting on Xbox. So I think that's going to drop. Obviously, it hasn't come to PC yet either. So I think Square's going to have an appearance there, because I did mention third-party publishers and stuff, and they've been talking about their deal with Square. So I think it'll be something Final Fantasy related. I'll actually be shocked if it's not, because really, essentially, there's two Final Fantasy games that haven't come to Xbox that need to come across, and that's the next logical step. Well, Xbox and PC, so that's the next logical step. Maybe something with Sega. Maybe Microsoft and Sega show off this ultimate game, cloud game that they're working on.
Maybe we see more Jet Set Radio.
Maybe, yeah, that would be interesting, or Crazy Taxi. So there's some third-party things and third-party deals that they probably have up their sleeve as well, which will be cool. You know what would really, like, just completely shatter everything and knock it out of the park? If they had a third-party deal with Rockstar for the next Grand Theft Auto, for the advertising rights. That would be freaking amazing, because no one, PlayStation hasn't yet. Nobody's got the advertisement rights for the next Grand Theft Auto, and people have been screaming.
Drop that trailer.
Yeah, people have been screaming at them. Go and get the advertising rights for. You're not going to get time, not for something that big. You're not going to get timed exclusivity. Neither would Sony, but getting the advertising rights would be freaking huge. Because if you're mainly only seeing Xbox or Microsoft associated with Grand Theft Auto, and I'm thinking of the external crowd out there over us, the over us hardcore gamers, it may very well help sell some consoles. Because parents out there, for example, are going to go, My kid wants Grand Theft Auto, but it's only on Xbox. Like thinking that it's only on Xbox because they've got the advertisement. Oh, I've got to go pick up an Xbox. Grand Theft Auto being arguably the biggest game in the freaking world, or biggest IP in the world, most popular IP in the world. Man, if there is a game that could move a console for you, it would be that. Even more so than even Call of Duty.
I know it's probably still early in development, but I would really like to see a little snippet of that Iron Man game.
Or the Wonder Woman game.
Wonder Woman 2, because that's been quiet.
Or Black Panther. Was it? Oh, it's Black Panther.
Yes.
Is it Black Panther or is it Black Panther and Captain America? Or it might be two separate games there, but
no, you're thinking of 1938.
Yeah.
No, this is just Black Panther from what I recall.
I'd go out and get advertisement rights for some of these Marvel games too, because Marvel games, especially with they will help move consoles. If the parent thinks, oh, that's only going to be on Xbox, yeah, it's going to be multiplayer. But if you got the like what Sony does with third parties, right? They get the advertisement rights. Yes, that game's releasing everywhere. But the people that aren't in the know, like the most parents out there, they walk in the store and they just see PlayStation plastered on. They think that game's only come on Play. Most people think out there, outside us hardcore gamers, that Silent Hill 2 is only coming to PlayStation, not realising it's going to be elsewhere. It is eventually coming to Xbox. It's going to be releasing same day on PC. But most people are just connecting with PlayStation because they've got the advertisement rights for it. So Microsoft needs to play that game too, because that is actually very beneficial to pushing consoles while they're still in the console market. And as I said, you get some of those Marvel titles for advertisement, and you get Grand Theft Auto, they might actually finally start seeing an uptick in console sales instead of, a downward trend, which they constantly always see. So
a lot of people are like, enough with the kumbaya stuff. Start being vicious.
And we know Satya Satya, as I say this whole time, he's a killer. He's ruthless. He ain't like Phil. Phil's the kumbaya. Satya, on the other hand, if Satya was running Xbox, it would be run very similarly, I would imagine, how Peter Moore ran it. I don't care about my competition. I'm going to stomp on my competition. This is cutthroat. We're in competition with them, right? That's how Satya is. You can see that with the way he handles himself, holds himself, and the way he talks, right? Whereas Phil will play nice. Satya, I don't think will, And he would be doing that evil laugh right now at the fact, right, that their games are doing better than Sony's games on the PlayStation Store. He'd be sitting there laughing like bloody Dr. Evil, I'm telling you. Like, at just the fact, like, but you didn't want our game. Yeah, I thought our games were crap, He would be loving it. Phil would be taking the more palpable approach and just be like, oh, that's nice. Oh, I'm glad it's all working. Satya, on the other hand, would just have that evil grin, evil laugh going on, man. Like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, I love that meme of him online with that evil grin he's got. I'm like, that's total Satya.
yeah, man. Like, he is. He knows how to be cutthroat and ruthless. I mean, he's running one of the biggest, most powerful freaking companies out there, right? And
Xbox is now their most profitable part of their business now.
Windows, man. Yeah,
I know. It's insane.
I couldn't get over that. I'm like, really? Windows had been slapping it silly for years, and then now their gaming division is just kicking ass, taking names, and I'm like, this is awesome, man. But as I said, they need one area that they really need to do more work is, as I said, whilst they're still making consoles, is really getting that uptick in consoles. And as I said, I think the way to do that now, like, okay, you've tried every other which way, and we know your marketing team still sucks, but you've tried every other which way. This is where the third-party deals can help, especially if you get something big. And a Marvel game or Grand Theft Auto, I'm telling you, it works for Sony. It'll work for Microsoft.
Did you hear the rumors that, like, Microsoft's actually going to go with Intel this time instead of AMD.
Yeah.
For their console, but I wonder if they'll do the same for the handheld as well, which would be interesting. Which tells me that Intel's come a long way.
Yeah,
in their graphics.
They have, because I know they were really looking at Intel and Nvidia. I think what's made them choose Intel is they can keep the costs down, because Nvidia being the top player in the game, it's quite expensive. And if they use Nvidia stuff in there, the cost's probably going to balloon to a point that they won't be able to sell it at a...
They want it to be a value, right?
Yeah. But Intel is just... Yeah, it's come along leaps and bounds. That's why I asked my friend to put Intel in my computer other than the NVIDIA graphics card, because their graphics cards and their CPUs are starting to climb up over AMD's. AMD was sort of beating them. I wouldn't say whooping them, but beating them in the CPU department and even graphic department. And Nvidia, of course, graphically was just whooping both their butts. But now Intel's coming back again. Intel's having that resurgence. Like, it used to be the best. I remember back in the 90s, everyone wanted Intel back then. And AMD was just crap. And then they did a role reversal. I won't say Intel went completely...
And then there was a shift.
Yeah. AMD got the shift then, and now Intel's taking it back. But Intel also work with NVIDIA on a lot of things too. More so, obviously AMD don't, but so that's helped too. And they've had change of leadership at Intel as well, which has gotten them to new heights again. And so, as I said, their new lot of CPUs and graphic cards are freaking on another level again. You know, they're not on NVIDIA's level, but they're getting there. They're climbing back up there. So I think it was a smart decision by Microsoft. Now, their new home premium console is going to be completely, utterly different in reality to PlayStation's, because PlayStation 6 has got AMD. So, completely different architectures. Still PC architect, but completely different, and the way things go. So, you might actually see a bit more of a gap between the two of them than what you currently see. Like, you know, essentially the Series X and the PlayStation 5 are essentially, for the most part, the same sort of box, doing the same thing. With them going Intel, though, over AMD, that's going to create some differences. And it could lead to some bigger gains in some areas. Power, again, being one of them. We always know Microsoft loves the power game. So, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting, this next sort of console that comes out. But I think they needed to. Like, AMD just... They've been on top for a little while when it comes to, especially in the console market. So they got too cocky in that, and I loved how Microsoft kind of played them. Oh yeah, we're just going to automatically go with you again. But no, then they noticed that Microsoft was shopping around, and they were shopping around harder than they've ever shopped around before for prior consoles, especially even the Series console. And I think that's where AMD's gone, oh crap, they might not go with us. And they obviously aren't. So, yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see the differences then and in the consoles when they come out, and see who's got the advantage and where. Yeah, interesting, man. But that's all we got for you folks this week. A lot there to unpack. I want to thank everybody for joining us, of course, from the Rockin' One, rocking out in the chat and being metal strong. Timmy, how you going, Timmy? Always good to see you, brother. The sister Cozy Beluga and a little birdie. Always love seeing the birdie. Love and appreciate you, sis. And thanks for stopping by. We had the legendary one himself up in here. Who also loves dragons too. And Mr. Peace, Love, Life, my brother from another. Yobi-san, always great to have you here, brother. And of course, all the lurkers that have been with us too. Appreciate you all. Appreciate the support. Can't thank you all enough. So, very grateful. But, Ryan, did you want to let the fine folks know where they can find you, man?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Political IT Gamer, or you could find me on Xbox at ResGamer0.
There you go, folks. Nice and easy to find. All right, and you can find me on the X, of course, on Moonman everywhere on the X, on the Xbox app. Even though I'm on PC, you can find me on Steam. You can find me on Blue Sky. So I'm everywhere. Other than that, you find me right here on the 4GQ TV channel every Monday evening, or most Monday evenings, for the wrestling podcast with the cerebral pineapple himself, Paul. Pop-up powerbomb, and of course every Wednesday evening right here with main man Ryan as we talk all things gaming across the board with Backlog Bastards. Until next time, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day or evening wherever you may be in this world, and enjoy your weekend, and of course love whatever you're playing because there's a lot out there. All right, everybody, good night.
Good night, everyone.